A lot of people have been saying Druid feels incredibly weak, and I'm not gonna lie, it took me a ton of hours to find out a build that I truly can say feels broken. Easily plowing through basic trash mobs, two-shotting elite bosses, as well as having good mobility, crowd control, and amazing survivability. Today we're going to be talking about my earthbending werebear build, so let's get started because it's very straightforward and easy to set up and learn. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are in game right now. We're going to be going over this build very, very quickly. I don't want to waste too much of your time. This build is going to be all about getting an enemy stunned and dealing the maximum amount of damage possible to them while they're stunned. Now, there's a couple key components to this build, and one of them is going to be Storm Strike with the vulnerability. Not only is it an amazing basic skill, it could be the best basic skill close to in the game with applying vulnerability constantly, chaining to enemies, as well as giving you 25% damage reduction. So it's very, very strong for survivability and amplifying your damage. So we're definitely going to pick that up. We're going to be grabbing Pulverize because it is absolutely mandatory to have Pulverize in this build with the automatic overpower. And when it actually overpowers, all enemies are stunned around you. Keep that in mind. The stun, it's a very big deal. Next up, our hard-hitting ability, Landslide. Ladies and gentlemen, Landslide is one of the strongest abilities in the game as a core skill DPS ability. And the modifier on Landslide, each rank, goes up 11%. Now, for example, an increase for Pulverize's modifier, as you can see, the damage is 55% going up to 60%. On Landslide, the damage increase is about 12% each rank. So each rank of Landslide you actually go up, it's 12%, 24%, 36%, and so on. So it's a massive, massive damage increase just for ranking this ability up on its own. And, you know, combining that with things like, you know, core skills cost more but deal 10% increase more damage. And there's a bunch of other modifiers that we'll be able to get as we get into the actual live game. But, you know, this is the beta, so we're stuck right now with what we can do. Obviously, the next Landslide, if it hits enemies 4 times, it'll immobilize them. And then we're getting Terra Motes. Terra Motes are very, very crucial in this build because each enemy you immobilize or stun grants you a Terra Mote, and a Terra Mote allows you to automatically critically strike on your next Landslide. The main way you're going to be gaining Terra Motes, and you'll have maybe 50, 60, 70 of them in your back pocket to use whenever, is going to be using Pulverize when you AoE stun 10, 15 mobs at a time. So the cooldown actually doesn't go away, and these stacks don't wear off. They just stay on you permanently. So you Pulverize enemies a couple of times in groups, and you'll have enough Terra Motes to just constantly spam for guaranteed crits for endless minutes at a time. So it's very, very strong 1-2 punch ability on the core abilities. Next up, we're going to be grabbing Debilitating Roar. This is the most powerful actual raw defensive in the tree. Cyclone Arm is decent for the knockback, but this build, you're going to be kind of in their face constantly with Storm Strike as well as Pulverize. So we're going to grab Debilitating Roar. This is going to give us a nice damage reduction on nearby enemies if things get sticky. A Fortify, as well as healing you for 4% of your maximum health each second. Very, very strong defensive ability. Very, very good overall. After that, we're going to be skipping Companions because we don't have any legendary aspects for Companions, and overall, the Companions without them are just incredibly weak on the Druid, unlike the Necromancer, or even the Sorcerer for that matter. So we're definitely passing up on these, and then we're also going to be grabbing Trample. Trample's good because it allows us to have mobility, as well as a potential extra stun if we knock them into a wall. So we have 2 stuns with Overpower, and we have another stun with the Trample knocking them into a wall. And if they're stunned, guys, we're going to be able to deal extra damage with either our legendary aspects or some other things later on down the line. For example, you have Crushing Earth. Now, after the open beta, I would definitely recommend grabbing Crushing Earth come launch day. I mean, 5% increased damage to slow, stunned, or immobilized. It's very, very big in an earth damage build, as well as even grabbing the critical strikes for Fortify. While you're fortified for over 50% of your health, Earth skills deal more damage. These are all really, really good talents while you're leveling to grab for passive damage in this spec. And then lastly, we're going to be grabbing Petrify, and Petrify is our big, big one-shot button opportunity. This is our, when we're full on Spirit, we press Petrify, and we spam Terra Mote automatic crits, and everything dies. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if they're elite bosses. It does not matter. 25% additional crit damage while they're stunned in a Petrify, as well as it being a 4-second duration and actually granting you instant refunded spirit if it's mobs, like little mini mobs. It allows you to just spam landslide over and over and over again for massive thousands of damage. Another key aspect for this build I would highly recommend, if we go to our character here, we have some really good legendary abilities. Right now, actually, we're completely kitted out. We kind of no-lifed it this last day, streaming about 14 hours straight. So this was a very, very good session. But we have a lot of abilities and legendary aspects combined for this build that are very, very strong. And I would say some of them are mandatory. You know, we have some like this, which are kind of easy to get with. When you hit a crowd-controlled enemy, there's a 40% chance for that crowd control to spread to another enemy. So, you know, when you stun someone with your overpower, it could spread to another person nearby. That's very good. While unstoppable, you gain movement speed for more mobility because we only do have trample, so we are lacking a little bit of mobility. And I would say the most mandatory legendary aspect for this entire build that makes it really hit very hard when it comes to stunned enemies, your Earth skills deal 100% increased critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. That does include stunned, ladies and gentlemen. So, once again, some basic modifiers on this one ability that is going to be our landslide. We have the landslide with the Terror Moat, which is 40% increased damage. Then we could potentially have later on modifiers like 5, 10, 15% damage. And we have the Petrify, which is 25% damage increase, all on a critical strike. And obviously, if you guys know, critical strikes deal amplified damage just on their own. So combining all these together, you get absolutely ridiculous numbers, and you are blasting through all the enemies that I've encountered easily. I soloed all the strongholds very, very quickly. I completely plowed through every bit of content I possibly could. I ran 10 to 15 dungeons. I did all the strongholds. I flew through all the content on this character. It has been an absolutely insane build so far. And then just to finish up on some of our legendary aspects, we have the Pulverize grants a shockwave that travels forward, dealing 147% damage. And then we have Pulverize is now an Earth skill. After casting Pulverize, Tectonic Spikes continue to deal damage around you over 2 seconds, which is very, very strong. So all these together, you know, make your character super, super strong. So we're in the dungeon now. This is a great dungeon for farming legendaries. It's called Dead Man's Dredge. On the map, it is located near the southeast, Dead Man's Dredge, just east of Yelesna. And there's tons and tons of elites here. You come here to farm legendaries and, you know, just get the best gear you can possibly for as quick as you possibly can. So the basic rotation here is you want to get a full pool of spirit, and you want to stun an elite enemy. And when you do, you're going to dump all your spirit into landslides and just, I mean, it's very just simple as that. So there is an elite enemy coming up. We're going to run up here and just spam our landslides, as simple as this. And he's pretty much dead. Just as simple as that. And, you know, we did use our Petrify for that. So it's like, oh, is it only good if this build has Petrify? Well, we're also very, very tanky without Petrify, so we can survive a lot of hits because we have constant Fortify and Debilitating Roar coming up. And, you know, just an example of fighting enemies without Petrify. We have 2 bosses right here. We're going to AoE stun and then landslide, and then they're just both dead. You know, it's pretty foolproof for the most part. We have potions, we have mobility, we have CC, we have burst damage, we have high powerful cooldowns, and overall, it's just a very, very great experience to be able to use this spec on a class that a lot of people say is really, really bad and not performing well. So it's always fun to prove the naysayers wrong when you discover some builds like this, and it's very, very strong, guys. So remember, overall, you just want to go in there, you make sure they're stunned, you spam that landslide, and you play defensive, and you make sure you have spirit up for that go window. Overall, the Druid is a very, very fun class. I'm in love with it. We're working on some other builds for some Storm builds. Maybe we can come up with some stuff tomorrow and post it for you all, but that's going to be all for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I appreciate all the love and support. My name's Scott for the Comeback Kids. Here's a quick build video. I'll see you all in the next. Peace out.